everybody, I am Sarah and today I will be doing the coffee book tag. This book tag was created by Bangby Bangs and I will link their channel down below. I was tagged by Ashley over at Books for Days and I will link her channel down below as well. So this is probably the most relatable tag I've seen around. I am a huge coffee drinker. I drink like a troubling amount of coffee per day. So let's get started. First question is Black, a series that's tough to get into but has hardcore fans. There were a surprising amount of options for this one for me to choose from, but I chose one that's pretty recently gotten really big, and that is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I'm not even going to talk about this book because you all know what it's about, but I just can't get into it. A, it's just not my type of book. B, with a book in a book series in general that's so long and so dense, if I don't get into it in the first few chapters, there's no way I'm sacrificing my time to finish it. So I just haven't. And there's probably a lot of people who will hate me for that. But it's just not my cup of coffee. It's a tea. Because we're talking about coffee. Yeah. I even tried to watch the TV show, and it's just, I don't know. It's not the kind of thing I like. It just doesn't appeal. It doesn't appeal to me. But holy crap, do people love it. I will probably get a whole bunch of hate comments about not liking this, but that's what I'm expecting, because people freaking love this. They love the show, they love the books. I mean, it's just, yeah. It's crazy. Next on the list is Peppermint Mocha, and that is a book that gets more popular during the winter or festive time of the year. This one's kind of redundant because Christmas books get more popular at Christmas. That's just the way it works. But for this one, I chose Polar Express. I don't know about your bookstores, but in my bookstores during the winter months, there are like displays dedicated to Polar Express. They sell the movie, they sell like stuffed animals, they sell prints, they sell the book, they sell everything that has to do with this book. I'm okay with it. It's a pretty good book. I don't know, I'm just not that really into Christmas stuff. I just like Halloween more. That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk about Halloween books instead. Next is Hot Chocolate, my favorite children's book. I picked two for this one. The first one I picked for the sake of nostalgia, and that is the Little Critter series by Mercer Mayer. I chose this because when I was a kid, my dad read to me every night. Our grocery store had like a little book department, so every time we went grocery shopping, he would buy me a new book, and I would always pick Little Critter. I went back and read some of them, and I mean, they're not the best, but for the sake of nostalgia, I'll pick those. But I was at the bookstore the other day, flipping through some kids' books, and I found one called Two Homes. This one's by Claire Mazerel. It's for younger children, but it depicts a child, whose parents have been divorced and he now has two homes. My parents divorced when I was very young, so seeing this is something I would have really probably liked to read when I was a child. Not a lot of my friends' parents were divorced, so I was kind of the only one who had two homes. So this book goes through the good things of having two homes. Just, you know, he has a favorite chair at his dad's house and he has a favorite chair at his mom's house. And I find a lot of children's books about divorce focus on the negative aspect of divorce a lot and a lot of the sad feelings about it. But I think this book does a really good job of depicting how it can also be a livable situation and it can also be an enjoyable situation. And I really like that. So if I were still a child and this was read to me, I know that I would have really appreciated it. So that's why I chose that one as well. The next one is Double Espresso, a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from beginning to finish. Now, I don't read a lot of thrillers or mysteries, or really like the only horror I read is Stephen King. So I don't come across a lot of books with this edge of your seat the whole time feeling. I find that in adult fiction. It's not as prominent as, you know, like YA fiction, but I tried my best. For this one, I picked one of my all-time favorite books, and that is Ubik by Philip K. Dick. This one kept me on the edge of my seat because a lot of weird stuff unfolds, and it unfolds into one giant big weird thing. So that's why I chose it, because it's you don't know what's going to happen next, and things keep appearing, and you don't know what's going on, and it's just a really good thriller without being a thriller. Next is Starbucks. Name a book that you just see everywhere. For this one, I picked The Lunar Chronicles. I don't know who it's by, but there's like the first one's Cinder, I think, and it's like a retelling of Cinderella as a robot. I don't know. I don't really have any interest at all in reading these whatsoever, but I see it everywhere. It was really, really prominent a few months ago. I would scroll down my Goodreads feed and it would just be every few posts, even though I don't really follow or are friends with people who would like that sort of stuff. It was still like very, 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 very prominent, but I don't know. I have no interest in it. So next is That Hipster Coffee Shop, and that is to give a shout out to an indie author. Now this is a problem that I didn't know was a problem until this question, but I have never read, as far as I know, a indie author. So if you have any suggestions for me of indie authors or just standalone novels that you really like by indie authors, tell me down below, because I would really, really like to read some. I just haven't happened across any. So yeah, let me know. But for this one, in place of an indie author, I am giving another shout out to a book and an author that I haven't heard anyone talk about on BookTube or Goodreads or in real life, and that is The Book of Flying by Keith Miller. It's an older book. He's not an indie author, but I think it is a spectacular piece of literature. It is my all-time favorite novel, and it's just more people really need to read it. If you're into really beautiful, mystical, kind of magical literature, it is just on point. It is just what you want in a book, and I absolutely love it. And I mean, I've never met anyone else that's read it except for my best friend, and she read it because I told her to read it. So I need more people to read this book. Next on the list is Oops, I Accidentally Got Decaf. And that is a book you are expecting more from. I mean, I could probably do an entire video on Oops, I Got Decaf. But for the time being, I selected one, and that is Boy Snowbird. I picked this up because it says that it's a modern retelling of Snow White mixed in with like racial controversy, but it's not at all. It has nothing to do with that, really. I mean, there's like a stepmom that's not great, but that's about it. And then there's like this weird thing at the end that doesn't make any sense that came out of nowhere. And I got almost all the way through this book realizing that I had no connections to any characters. And I mean, I don't want to bash it because you might like it, and I can see why people would like it, but it's just not what I was expecting, and it's not what I wanted, and it's not a very good, in my opinion, novel. Lastly, for the Copybook tag is The Perfect Blend, a book that was bitter and sweet, but ultimately really satisfying. For this one, I picked Beautiful You by Chuck Palahniuk. So this is Chuck's most recent novel. I really liked this book, but parts of it were just like almost cringeworthy. And I'll tell you the synopsis first. So it's about this very, very plain girl. I think I recall her name is Penny. She's a plain Jane. She's really doesn't have much of a personality. She doesn't stand out, doesn't wear the nicest clothes. Just absolutely plain looking, nothing special about her. And then the next day at the office she works in, she meets a young, handsome billionaire that's a business tycoon and just extremely hot and extremely rich and extremely smart. And he wants to take her out on a date for some reason, and she's not really sure why, but they go on this date and they start kind of casually dating, and then it gets into the weird sex part of the book where he's actually developing a line of sex toys that he wants to test on her, and they're all like super weird, and she basically becomes like a sex slave for him. And the reason why this is bitter and sweet at the same time is because the first quarter of it is essentially a retelling of 50 Shades of Grey, but kind of making fun of it. And as the book progresses, it really makes fun of it. And I don't know if it was supposed to be like that, because I've read some reviews and no one's really picked up on that so much, but it's definitely there. I personally haven't read 50 Shades of Grey, but I have read the first, I think, like 80 or 90 pages, and the first 80 or 90 pages of this book almost exactly match up with 50 Shades of Grey in a different kind of context, with different writing style and just undertones of completely destroying 50 Shades of Grey. And this book gets so weird and so deep into like this weird sex thing that things go absolutely insane, and it's like world changing. And it's so funny that it's so very Chuck that he took this very basic kind of weird book that everyone's obsessed with for some reason and turn it into something hilariously extreme and world-changing and personality-shattering. So that's why it was bitter and sweet, and ultimately so satisfying. He kind of pokes jabs at everything in here, and the second half of it is just kind of reaming on consumerism and how people are just sheep to what they see in advertisement and what other people are doing, which to me is also kind of like a jab at 50 Shades of Grey, that it's popular because it's popular. And it was just, oh my god, it was so good and so funny and so just very Pollyannic. It's a little bit hard to swallow at times, but in the end, it's totally worth it. So that was the coffee book tag. I will tag a few people down below. I've done it already and I haven't seen it, just forget about that. I would love to see what everyone thinks of this tag and the books that people chose for this tag. Thank you, Ashley, for tagging me, because this is literally the best tag I've ever seen. Thank you. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember to refer some indie authors to me down below in the comments, and also tell me what you think about the books I chose, and if you don't plan on doing the tag, at least just throw some comments at me about the ones that you would choose for each of the topics. All you fine people can reach me on Twitter, Goodreads, and Tumblr. I will link them all down below. I would also love to hear your comments and just anything you have to say to me. I love talking to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.